everything that you've had to go through over the past couple of years, how sweet is it to get a victory tonight?
It's been a long road back, and it feels amazing, honestly. It's a dream come true.
That's awesome. After the time away, how do you feel about your performance? Obviously, some people say ring rust isn't real, some people say it is real. How did you feel in there?
I mean, there's some truth to it. You know, I felt a little rusty in some aspects. I know I did some good things, but definitely didn't get to execute things that I planned for. However, the only way that I can, get better is by competing and having that experience. And it's been a little bit of time in between since, I've last been out there. So I'm proud of myself.
In some ways, is it almost just getting this one out of the way, right? Like just getting it back in there, feeling it again, and just sort of connecting back with fighting?
Yeah, for sure. Again, the only way to see where I'm at is by getting in there and seeing what I have, and through that I get to see what I have to work on.
When it went to the scorecards, were you feeling confident?
I was, but I mean, I've lost a bad decision before, so I hope that it would go my way. I thought that I did enough. However, I never know. So hoping next time out I don't have to worry about that.
Can you compare the nerves leading into this fight? Would it be similar to something like a UFC debut, to be away, to have the sport taken from you for a while, and then to get back in there? Is it particularly more nerve-wracking, or is it less nerve-wracking? What is it like?
My first time fighting, I remember I had no nerves, I had no expectations. I really just was so excited, and this time out I felt all the nerves, all the emotions, like all day, every day. It was like a roller coaster, and I'm really glad to have this one behind me and on to the next.
Would the word be relief?
Yes. Honestly, it was a lot this week. I questioned myself a lot. I mean, as anyone does anytime that they go out and do something that they really care about. But this one was very special, and I put a lot of pressure on myself, and just had just glad to put it behind me.
Do you anticipate that getting easier every time you get out there now?
Yeah, I remember, competing consistently and, still feeling the nerves, but just not as, crazy as I did this time.
Intense, yeah?
Yes, it was very intense.
Which makes the win much more sweeter, I imagine.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
When you have the sport taken off you like you did, does it put you in a place where you appreciate it more than you ever did, and perhaps more than you ever could if that didn't happen to you?
So when before I was not able to compete, I really was not healthy, like mentally, physically, emotionally, to be competing. I really shouldn't have been taking fights. I should have really taken care of myself. So this long layoff, I made sure to really focus on myself and get better. So yeah.
And are you better now? Do you feel better now?
I feel a lot better now.
Congratulations on the win, and welcome back.
Thank you so much.
If you had to think of the time away, what was the hardest thing that you had to deal with in the time away?
The hardest thing being away was it not being my choice. It was really having to accept and relinquish control of the situation, and just having to just really accept that I may never get to compete again. I may never get to corner somebody again. I may never, get to be a part of the sport again. And that was really heartbreaking. I love this sport. This sport has changed my life. And I always saw myself, competing and giving back to it, in whatever way I could. So it was very heartbreaking for a time. But in accepting that I may not, be a part of the sport anymore, in the end, it was very freeing, and it really allowed me to come back to myself and really appreciate the sport.
And I can obviously tell by the emotion what it meant, the time away, and let alone to be back. What was at what point did you know that it was going to happen? Because I'm sure, as you said, that you doubted, you started thinking, that is this even going to happen? You had bouts come up, and then an injury would happen. You had bouts come up, and then COVID happened, and then everything else. Was there ever any moment that it felt like it wouldn't? And what was the final key to get over that and to prepare yourself and say, yes, I will get back in there?
It was very challenging. It was a roller coaster, and again, I just had to accept where I was at and what it was, and just really, really embrace and believe that everything was happening for me. It wasn't happening to me. This wasn't a punishment for something. This was just happening. This is part of my story, and this is how it's going to go. And that was very freeing.
And I have to ask, who is the training partner that you maybe was riding on his back or her back? Because looking at how it seemed like the game plan was that you spent a lot of time on her back today. Who was the poor soul in training camp that had to act as that body?
You know what? I am very, very lucky to have really awesome teammates and the people in my corner. And Angela Hill is, my main training partner. She's always been there for me. And she's always, encouraging and supporting. And we were doing some cage work, and she's like, "Why don't you get funky with it?" She's like, "That's your game, that's your thing. Why don't you embrace it?" So I just started climbing up on her for the last, few weeks, and yeah.
So was there a real game plan getting in there tonight, or was it just a matter of you wanting to get back in there and just get the feels of getting back in the cage, getting the feel of the canvas underneath your feet? Was there a real plan going in, or was it just to go and do your thing as it played out?
You know what? I had ideas of what I wanted to do. My coaches and teammates had, strategies set in place, but also just a lot of freedom. And I feel like when I give myself that freedom and that just create room to be creative and kind of go off of the game plan is when, I have the most fun, and is when that I can make things happen. If I'm, very rigid and sticking to a very set thing, I think I end up losing sight of winning.
And since the last time that you went in there, a lot of things have changed. The arena, the fans, everything. What has been the biggest difference for you this fight week coming back in here from what you remember the last time that you were in here?
Things seemed familiar, hints of familiarity, but most of it was very unique and very different. And I, just had the mindset of just being present in the moment and really not trying to control things and trying to, just be rigid with anything.
And now that you've got in there, you've got the fight back under the belt. When you look at the rest of 2021, what sort of goals, how many fights, what sort of things are you setting for yourself for 2021?
I would just really like to stay active. I'd like to, heal up and start working on things and, shake some more of that ring rust off and get back in there as soon as possible and just really try and get some momentum. And I can't make up for lost time. However, I can, learn and grow from it and just appreciate more experiences in the future.
Congrats on the win. It was very good to see you back in there.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Jessica, not many people experience having their livelihood taken away from them for such a long period of time. What was that like during that time? Did you feel like you're in a darkness, or what was that like?
There were moments of darkness and despair and just, feeling very out of control and powerless. However, I found the silver lining in, this experience and just tried to take it and learn and grow from it the best that I could. So I focused on myself. I had to work a lot. I have rescue animals that I had to provide for, and I had teammates who were still competing and fighting, so I wanted to be there for them. And I just really tried to focus outwardly on, the people around me and focus inwardly on myself and figure out what I could fix and what I could control.
Did you feel that at any time you may never fight again?
Yeah, I felt that it may never ever happen for me again, and that was heartbreaking and painful. But when I accepted that's a possibility that might happen, it allowed me to focus on other things.
What was the turning point that you were like, this is going to happen?
I have a really amazing manager, Brian Butler, over at Sucker Punch, and he did not let me give up on the possibility that, there was still a chance. And so he, when I couldn't, really fight for myself, he fought for me, and he really just carried me some of the time. And he made it happen. He arranged lawyers and helped me fundraise and, communicated back and forth with USADA and the UFC and just like really, really stood for me.
What kind of advice would you give to people that are struggling, not necessarily in what you went through, but everybody has their struggles, to overcome something like this?
Just keep your head up. It always gets better. The thing that really carried me was that everything happens for me. Nothing is happening to me. This is all happening for the greater good. This is all happening, for me to get better and learn and grow from.
And how was it to stick your foot in that octagon for the first time in 4 years?
Oh man, it it was surreal. It was really nerve-wracking. I felt, all my nerves and everything going as soon as I stepped in there. I felt like I was in a dream for a little bit, but there was also like a feeling of home in there.
Congratulations. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.